Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Health Wrap by the Hindu. Should we jump right in, Zubeda? Or maybe we should tell our audience about our expert segment this time. This week we have Dr. Priya Selvaraj, Managing Director of GG Hospitals. She is a clinician and embryologist and will talk to us about egg freezing and viability of fetuses. The big news this week, Zubeda, that something that we were all happy about is the announcement of the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance. This is version 2. So we already had a version 1 running. And while version 1 had some benefits, it managed to set up a network of laboratories in the country. And it also managed to, increase the surveillance of sites in the country. But I think what is very, very significant is that antimicrobial stewardship in the form that we needed was seriously lacking. We looked at some numbers last week on AMR itself. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely, Ramya. As you were saying, this is a growing and very important challenge that needs to be tackled in our country. There were two recent reports on AMR. The first one was the World Health Organization's GLASS report, and we did have a long piece upon that our viewers should read for more information, which showed us that India does have like a significant burden of antimicrobial resistance, and that this needs urgent measures to be tackled. So as you said, it's very welcome news that the central government has decided to take this up in version 2 of their National Action Plan. Another report that came out just a few days ago was published in the Lancet. This looked at a handful of countries, at patients in a small handful of countries, including India. And it also found that India had staggeringly high rates of antimicrobial resistance, though this paper might warrant a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, I think so. It said up to 83% of Indians held within themselves resistance to bacteria. So I don't know if that is a valid figure because the central government has asked whether it is possible to extrapolate from such a small cohort onto the entire population. There are issues with this study, but I think everyone acknowledges at this point that India's burden of AMR is super high and that we need to address it. One of the main things that we need to look at, and we've been talking about One Health throughout during our podcast, is One Health, which looks at environmental health, animal health, and human health as one single unit. Unless we do that and we look at it from an overarching angle, I'm afraid we'll only be looking at worse numbers in the future. So, it's significant that all these numbers are coming out, but there's also a reason why they came out together. And that's because we are observing World AMR Awareness Week between November 18 and 24. And that is why we see a rush of such information. But nevertheless, I think this information is a call to action.
Absolutely. And speaking of days that are being marked, November 12th was World Pneumonia Day. And this is a condition that almost all of us have heard of. Pneumonia is it's a widely common condition. But what people don't seem to understand is that it continues to remain one of the leading causes of mortality in under 5s globally as well as in India. So vulnerable populations are especially at high risk for pneumonia, and it can be deadly in such populations. Speaking about that, Ramya, will you explain to us how ventilation can really play a part when it comes to pneumonia?
Yeah, well-ventilated homes, good hygiene practices, and early medical intervention can actually prevent pneumonia from turning into the killer that it can become. So it's very important to spread awareness about this. Not many people know that ventilation, particularly during the winter months and monsoon months, has a very key role to play in warding off upper respiratory tract infections and pneumonia as well. The other most important thing is a tool in our hands, which is vaccination. But adult immunization is not part of the universal vaccination program. There is no stress, no emphasis on getting flu vaccine from time to time. And I think the awareness that such a vaccine exists itself, Pneumovax, that will prevent pneumonia and prevent its complications and even hospitalizations. I don't know how many people are aware that it exists. This in future also, as we do usually, and another important angle we take is vaccination and the importance of spreading awareness about it.
Absolutely. And speaking of vaccines, another interesting story that we had this week was from our Kerala Bureau about a new tests that could check the efficacy of the anti-rabies vaccine. Now, we know that rabies has been in the news for the past few weeks, especially with the Supreme Court order and the stray dog population in India. So tell us a little bit about this particular test, Ramya.
Yeah, this is very significant because in the past, we've had people who have reportedly got rabies vaccines and then went on to develop a full-blown infection and even died as a result of that. So what this test does, and it's a phenomenal test because it tells you whether the vaccine you've taken is efficacious in your body or not, which means if it is not efficacious, you can go on to take boosters or look at some other remedial measures. So I think this is a very important tool in our armamentarium, and most states should be able to bring this in and conduct these tests in order to ensure that no one dies of rabies at some point of time.
Absolutely. Rabies is one of those diseases that is completely preventable through vaccination. And yes, nobody should be dying of it in our country.
Should we shift focus to the other big thing, the big buzz, over the week? I mean, it sounded alarming the first time we heard it, but then, as we looked into the issue, then maybe it's not that big. So this is about uranium being detected in breast milk in Bihar. Zubaida, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, it, as you said, created quite a bit of buzz in the health sector this week because a small study in Bihar found that their breast milk had uranium from groundwater contamination. However, a deeper look at the study said that the uranium wasn't detected at concerning levels, which means that breastfeeding continues to be safe. The thing is, it points to the larger issue of groundwater contamination, which is another issue that we have explored recently on our health website. That is the more pressing issue, isn't it? Why is our groundwater so unsafe?
Yeah, and also I'd like to point out comes back to the One Health principle. Unless you look at environmental health, unless you address these issues of pollution, unless you're able to ensure that the drinking water we get is potable and is not contaminated by these heavy metals or God knows what other heavy metals, unless we do that, we're not going to be able to ensure health and welfare of our citizens. So I think again, bring in the One Health, bring in all government departments, ensure that at least these resources, basic resources that, that are being provided by the government are non-contaminated. And I think also a surveillance mechanism to test the quality of groundwater from time to time should be set in place.
Clean air and clean water should be non-negotiable. Yeah. Moving on, Ramya, another WHO report that came in this week that is perhaps does not seem like it's health related immediately, but it does have an impact on health, is that a report that highlighted that nearly 30% of Indian women experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime.
Yeah, it is looked at as a social, economic issue perhaps, and even emotional issue. But the impacts of intimate partner violence on mental health and physical health are quite phenomenal. If you look at injuries sustained, there's bodily injury that has been sustained, but stress can lead to metabolic disorders, hypertension, cardiovascular disease. And a number of these cases go unreported, and women find it really difficult to step out and seek help. And even when they do seek help for physical ailments, for injuries, they have to camouflage the reason why it's being done. And this isn't just a social issue. It's a deeply deep public health issue that the state must approach as such. Again, I'm bringing in One Health because in terms of bringing in the law enforcement agencies as well to weigh in on this and make sure that our women are safe.
Speaking about women, one of the other issues that we covered extensively this week with regard to women's health was bone health. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
There is a huge epidemic of vitamin D deficiency in this country, which is strange because, we are India and some parts of our country have the sun out for 12 months of the year. What we looked at in our reports is when does the absorption from the sun really have an impact? So, is it during the early mornings, or is it during the midday, or is it during the evening? So, a short exposure, experts are saying a short exposure of 20 to 30 minutes a few times a week is actually enough to build our vitamin D reserves and make sure that we don't dip into deficiency levels. And the morning sun alone is not enough. So, if you're just walking in the morning and you're happy that you're getting calcium absorption and vitamin D, well, you've got that wrong. So this week we thought we'll look at the issue of freezing eggs. The issue came up when Upasana Kamineni of the Apollo Group spoke at an event about advising women to freeze their eggs early if they are looking at a career. And so that sort of blew up, as most things tend to these days, and became a question of tradition versus ethics versus sexual and body autonomy. But I want to ask you, as an embryologist, what is the biology on this? There is a thing as aging and viability. So what is
Yes.
the science behind this?
I am both clinician and embryologist, so I'll be able to give you some perspectives from both ends. So, first of all, as a clinician, to determine if a woman is, what are the criteria in a woman which decides how the egg quality is and what will entail a good live birth rate. First of all, it is the age, number of eggs, and quality of eggs. And last, how we prepare these eggs for freezing and the type of method. So it's exactly in that order. So this is a perspective from both being a clinician and embryologist and having personally handled cases and also seen the egg quality in the lab. These are very important criteria. So when you talk about biology and or scientific reasons why certain statistics are put forth where eggs or oocytes, as we call it, are concerned, the first thing is that it, especially in our Indian heritage, quality of eggs usually decline at around mid-30s. When you get to the age of 40 and above, it's literally quite dismal. And this is because of the increasing rates of what we call aneuploidy. Aneuploidy is nothing but an increase or decrease in chromosomes, which decide the normalcy. So for a woman, 46XX, and for a man, 46XY. But when there are aneuploidies, which are changes in numbers, it ends in chromosomal issues and abnormalities in the child. So this rate steadily increases once you reach the age of 35 and then reach 40 and 45. Your chances of getting a trisomy or a Downs or any of those, like Cry-Duchat or Edwards syndrome, really increases, to the rate of 1 in 5, 1 in 3, 1 in 10. So when you look at this, then it does become important to answer the question, age. When do you ask a woman who is single, who's still tending to her career needs and yet wants to attain motherhood, what is the right age, what should she know or be empowered with knowledge wise to make these important decisions. So the main thing is decline in the number of eggs, because we are born with a certain number and we decline during a specific age time, unlike men. So it's important to address all these issues, before promoting something.
Right. So, in the Indian context, something that always comes up is, we are a price sensitive market. So, there are huge costs to taking up fertility treatments itself. And people have to save for it. Some people take even loans, bank loans, as you very well know. So, what is how does one prepare in case someone has decided at 30 that, they're going to preserve their eggs, a man is going to preserve his sperm? or partners decide they will do it jointly, then what is what is the path ahead for them?
So, first of all, I assume and I would like for them to have like an informed decision making, and adequate counseling as to what happens when they freeze individual gametes and what to expect from these gametes at a later date when they plan to, use them. Um, Second is obviously, like you rightly said, nothing is cheap, definitely not in the assisted reproduction market. And insurance also does not cover these aspects. So, obviously, they should be financially independent and understanding of the fact that this entails an investment and it can range from, clinic to clinic based on their policies and what they feel is the right way to charge them. So I guess there should be an investment plan in place aside of the fact that they have complete knowledge and understanding of what these gametes are going to go through or what their bodies are going to go through during the whole process of retrieving these gametes, especially for women. Men, it's easy, it's masturbation and retrieval of sample. But for women, they are going to undergo an IVF cycle. Everything is almost the same. The only place where there is a difference is in a couple, we fertilize them and, freeze them as embryos. Whereas for a woman who's single with no partner, then it is just a oocyte freezing. So that's where the cost difference will come up. Obviously, it's more expensive for embryo freezing. So this cost will range again from center to center. Like, for instance, if we have a policy that, yes, to help out these sect of women, we will charge them a package rate where they are able to plan for it and they are not charged excessive over the amount that is promised. So it can be anywhere from 80,000 to 1.5 lakhs is what I understand and what we see in practice also. So also beyond this, there is a charge which is a yearly freezing charge, because we're holding them for X number of years. And there's a follow-up system that we need to, put in place because the reusage rate is also low. You see, because because when we counsel them, we are saying that this is a backup plan and not the plan ultimately for their fertility. There's no insurance or anything guiding it. So it's just a backup plan. And so they have to be prepared to pay those freezing charges. Sometimes we integrate these charges for, say, first 3 years so that, it's a down payment. Sometimes you just make it a yearly payment. So it just depends on the clinic's policies and what they have, experienced through the years. They form these criteria.
So over the years, I think Gigi has been in the business for the longest, and even with the test tube baby and all that, you've been pioneers in the field. So from your mom's days and now continuing, do you see a greater number of women, one basically trying for fertility treatments, two, women, investing in preserving their eggs, or couples investing in preserving the embryo?
Can I just go back to the history? So when we started the concept of freezing eggs, which was, you're very well aware of it because you covered it for me. Way back in 2005, I started, trying to perfect the art of freezing eggs. And then by 2007 and 2009, we had our first pregnancies in the country with both methods of slow freezing and vitrification. At that moment, my thought process was never in the direction of social egg freezing. The concept itself was something, that picked up in the last decade or so. But it was actually directed for young adults, reproductive age group, who wish to preserve fertility. So that was the concept and ideology with which we started the program. But we realized, for that concept to pick up itself is a huge thing because life matters in cancer and, motherhood or parenthood of any sort came much after. So the pickup in that field was low back then. And then within a few years, the concept of social freezing came by. But in between these, I have to highlight this, that during the IVF process itself, there are situations where the man is not able to give the sperm sample on the day of egg pickup. So that became, in fact, a higher number of proportion of my frozen oocytes belong to that category, where we then, as an emergent process, freeze the eggs. And when the man is able to produce the sperms, we then enable fertilization and embryos. So in now, things have, uh, gone on a reverse. So if I were to state that between these different reasons that we started the whole program, now the first is for cancer, because we are already specializing in that aspect of oncofertility, and delayed parenthood and career choices would come second, and then only last, a real IVF indication. So in that order of occurrence, our oocyte freezing is happening right now. Can I go on about, women's choices when it comes to the three types of women? So one is that if you look at social or elective egg freezing, the divorcees or people who have left a relationship, they come first, around 45% of our cases. And next is they were so involved in career that they had not even met anybody, and so it's a delayed, they have lost their whole time during that education, between career and education. So they come up one day and they realize, okay, at least let me freeze my oocytes in case I meet the right person. And that's around 30-35%. And the last category are the ones where they've always been in the market to find the right person, but they never have found them. So one day they all wake up and they realize that, at least let us freeze for the future. We understand. So they are made to understand, because they all come in, unfortunately, 35 years, between 35 and 40. So they have been extensively counseled as to what to entail, where their fertility aspects is concerned, how many cycles of egg retrieval they may have to undergo to reach an optimum number. And so the need to create an awareness that the younger you are, the better it is, result wise, needs to be more profound. That's the message. So 35 to 40 is the range that we are dealing with right now. So few of them are between 30 and 35. And even then, Ramya, I need to put this in over here very clearly, that fertility itself, because of the stress and lifestyle factors, that has definitely taken over precedence over any kind of genetic predisposition in the family. So it's very sad to see that there is a decline when they are more leaning towards a career and, climb in career than taking care of their health. So that's why we do find that even women between 30 and 35 sometimes have a fertility profile which is lower, and it becomes more challenging. So, yeah. So so it's better to encourage women to have one child before 30 and plan for a second child before 35. And also give them a choice that if that is just not happening in their lives, then they come in even earlier for the concept of freezing their future. So at least they are made aware. And then we are always there to guide them in that process and to tell them, is it safe to wait, or is it, something they need to consider within 6 months or a year, and even pre-prep them physically and mentally to, undergo the whole process. So many different aspects over here. The thing is that, as tradition is not wrong. Tradition is definitely not wrong. If the woman was given choices to, have a balanced, support system around her, be it her parents, be it her partner, be it her in-laws, even sometimes children feature in this. If she was able to, or if we provide her that support system, then there is no question that she'll be able to perform everything. She will be having her career on one side. She will be able to become a mother, not once, not twice, even 3 times if she wishes, just with this support system. So if women are offered all of this, then the whole process of having to freeze her future or carrying on the stress, throughout her 20s and her early 30s, that, could definitely be on the decline. It's because they lack all this support system. They lack the knowledge, the stress and lifestyle, and, this unhealthy working hours and food is actually destroying many things. It's not only causing a decline in fertility, but it's also contributing to cancer rates. It's what we have come to a conclusion with. So just wanted to add that point in. Of course, ultimately, it's a matter of choice, and one cannot disregard or, say that this is very commercial project. But it's good to be aware that you can achieve, provided you take certain things in your stride and have a good support system, or make sure you find that support system.
So, Ramya, is it time for the fun fact?
Yeah, why not? So earlier today we were speaking about respiratory health, pneumonia, and I thought maybe, we'll pull something out from the trivia relating to the lungs. Did you know that respiration, inhaling and exhaling, is automatic? So it is controlled by parts of the brain and nervous system that work without any conscious effort. The brain stem contains a respiratory center made of nerve networks that generate a rhythmic pattern of inspiration and expiration on their own. They also send out signals to the diaphragm and other breathing apparatus, including the muscles in the body, so that they are in sync with the breathing. Breathing is automatic, but what do your lungs do? Well, they do the very vital task of filtering out the waste. And that's why our lungs get clogged so often.
Just goes to show how marvelous the human body is, isn't it?
And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching us once again. For these stories and more, scan the QR code on the screen and this will take you to the health page of The Hindu.